Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Wednesday night. Lovely to have you guys here on the show. We are talking about Malik Willis and the percentage chance we give him of making this roster. It is premature to do so, but it's May. I was getting asked questions about this anyway, so I figured, now is as good a time as any. Well, it's a slow time in the Titans news cycle to kind of dig in to the proposition of Malik Willis on next year's, or I guess this year's, roster. We'll talk about the fanfare around Will Levis, whether it was fair or foul, too much, too little. And of course, because it's a Wednesday night, the rising and falling, whose stock rose and whose stock fell this week in sports. Before we get going, need you guys to share the show around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, wherever you are spending your time with us. We would be happy to have you. If you're on Twitter, please retweet the show. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left. YouTube or Twitch, like Christopher Young or Stephen King, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you do all of the things that allow you to participate in this show actively. If you've done all of those things, tell a friend to do the same. We would be grateful for you. Mr. Jones says, Willis greater than Will. I assume he means Levis, with a very, very big orange profile picture as his avatar there. So I imagine there are some biases involved. But it's worth talking about. It's worth digging into a little bit because this is a player who's only in his second year in Malik Willis. And it's a pretty unique situation that the Titans have created with a logjam in the quarterback room. Let's go ahead and get it started. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Superbook Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. If you're new to the show, and I'm proud as always to be presented to you by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com and get your dream address without the stress. The intel edge you need to succeed can be found at GaryAshton.com. Go to TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch for your first workout free and the best workout humanly possible. Nobody will get you in a better condition than TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch, TrueMathFitness.com for any of their great membership options. And Superbook Sports. Download the Superbook app and they will match your first bet up to $250 with promo code ATOZ. That's ATOZ in the Superbook app. Download the app and plug in that promo code to start winning today. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this situation. And it really feels like all paths, even though there are multiple paths, this is a choose your own adventure type of offseason for the Tennessee Titans. When you look at Malik Willis, no matter what path you choose, almost all of them seem to end up in the most logical solution, right? And the most logical solution is that Malik Willis isn't on the 53-man roster to start next season. Now, there's a long time between May the 17th and September when they will start having to make these roster cuts. But I think that when you look at the Willis situation, you have to kind of take it piece by piece. So with Will Levis getting drafted in the second round this year, with Ryan Tannehill on an expiring contract, how realistic is it that the Titans keep three quarterbacks on their active roster to start the season? Because they have had moments when they've had to have three quarterbacks on the active roster. Most specifically was Mike Vrabel's first year as the head coach here, right? With Marcus Mariota, dealing with the nerve issue, the ulnar nerve issue in his elbow. It became a week-to-week proposition. Blaine Gabbert had to start the next week against the Texans. But if I recall correctly, Marcus Mariota was still available, and they had signed Austin. He had a couple of moments with the Seahawks and the Rams. Austin Davis, I want to say, was his name. So they've had moments where they've had three quarterbacks on the active roster, even if Mariota wasn't available. They've had moments where they've had to kind of emergency quarterback a situation together. So it's not unprecedented throughout the course of the year. It is rare for a team to head into a regular season if their quarterback room is healthy with three quarterbacks on the active roster. Now, it's also not unprecedented for a team to carry three quarterbacks onto the active roster by the start of the regular season. Most recently, San Francisco, right? With Brock Purdy, with Jimmy Garoppolo, and with, at the time, at the start of the regular season, a healthy Trey Lance. Now, Brock Purdy ultimately ended up being very, very important for that team after their quarterback situation went to hell in a handbasket. But it is pretty uncommon for a team with healthy quarterbacks to carry an additional one on their active roster. Now, Rand Carthon is coming here from San Francisco, and how much that influences the Titans' ability or willingness to keep three quarterbacks on the active roster, it remains to be seen. But we'll start with your Two Rivers Ford take on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Twitch. Please let me know in the comment section what percentage chance you give Malik Willis of being on this roster when the regular season starts. Now, in this scenario, we're assuming that all three quarterbacks are healthy, which would make it even more unlikely, right? It's easy to paint a picture where, God forbid, something happens to Malik Willis or something happens to Will Levis or something happens to Ryan Tannehill, and one of them has to start the year on injured reserve or PUP or something to that effect. But in this scenario, we'll assume that all three are healthy. What percentage chance do you give this player of making the active roster at the start of the season? We'll talk about it together right after I tell you that your Two Rivers Ford take is made possible by Two Rivers Ford. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet and make sure that you get quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service, and a non-commissioned sales staff that will not put pressure on you at any point throughout the car buying experience. 40 years doing business in Middle Tennessee, 40 more great ones yet to come with Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So here you have the Tennessee Titans in a situation where they've created a logjam at quarterback. Now, you can say that it's a necessity, right? Because Malik Willis clearly and obviously was not NFL ready last year. Perhaps he will be more ready this year. Perhaps he will be more ready, but still not ready enough to take over should something happen to the starter, Ryan Tannehill most specifically. MB says, am I including practice squad? No, I'm saying, is Malik Willis on the 53-man active roster when the Titans make their roster cuts? That is the question that I'm asking you. The percentage chance that he is on the active roster, not that he clears waivers, not that he ends up on the practice squad, that he is on the active roster to start the year. Craig Baxter says probably 0%. Michael Weatherford says 10. Corey Smith, 33%. I saw some more optimistic forecasts earlier. Mo Francois, which is a great name, says 100%. There's no reason to let him go. Well, no, of course there's a reason to let him go if he's not good enough to play. And if he's just taking up an active roster spot, you can't hoard quarterbacks this way. Now, if he's waived and he clears waivers, which would be an interesting proposition, I have to think that somebody would take a chance on Malik Willis in the waiver order, but there's no guarantees on that. Now, if they were to be able to get him through to the practice squad, they could then protect him, and then you're correct. There would be no reason to let him go from the practice squad. But there's plenty of reasons to not have him on the active roster. If he's not a good enough backup quarterback to be on the active roster, that is a completely and totally reasonable explanation to let Malik Willis go. If he has not taken substantial enough steps to truly push for the backup quarterback role, then that is a completely fine reason to let Malik Willis go. A third-round pick on a quarterback is nothing more than a flyer. You may not like the fact that it was a third-round pick spent on a quarterback, but that is the nature of the situation that they've put themselves in. That was always the reality. Will Levis is less of that, but he still could be considered that to a degree. There are no sure things in the draft process, and you'd rather move on from a sunk cost than let it linger, especially with a player who does not provide special teams value. And that's the kind of thing that exists in the quarterback conundrum here, right? Taysom Hill is one of one. And you can say that the Titans should be doing a Taysom Hill type situation with Malik Willis. And I can't tell you right, wrong, or indifferent whether that makes sense. I would say to you that it is highly unlikely that they would do that with Malik Willis, or that Malik Willis would agree to a role like that. I think if Malik Willis was presented with that opportunity, he would prefer to be waived and to try and get an opportunity to play quarterback elsewhere. Now, to do so would probably rankle some people because you would look at it and say, well, they hardly gave him a chance. 1 year is not enough, and on and on and on it goes. And I say to you the same thing that I've said consistently on this is that Malik Willis in his rookie season got more opportunities to start than many quarterbacks do in a career. Josh Dobbs, for example, whom Malik Willis was benched for. Josh Dobbs waited 6 years to get his first NFL start. Think about that. Malik had 3 of them and appeared in 8 in his rookie year. Now, whether you would make the argument, well, it was unfair to play him at the time because we all knew that he clearly wasn't ready. And I would largely agree with your argument. It is unfair. And it was too early to put him out on the field. And also, I can say to you that the NFL does not care about that, and the coaching staff doesn't care about that, because the thing that gets people hired and fired more often than not is the quarterback. And that's an admission of your general manager unto himself. Now, that general manager, again, because of his San Francisco 49ers background, may appreciate the value of a quarterback more than most might, and might be more inclined, but it is a small percentage chance. I'm going to present to you the only feasible scenario that I think Malik Willis makes this roster here in just a second. And we'll read more of your percentages momentarily, right after I remind you that the Primetime Show is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com and get your dream address without the stress. Get the intel edge you need to succeed with the best real estate agency out there. GaryAshton.com is the best in the business. They're the team that your favorite teams trust. They will help you sell your home without any showings or stagings, help you find your next home while you sell your current one, help you win the buyer battle, and cash in on your home equity right now. Go to GaryAshton.com for more information and for that intel edge you need to succeed. So as you look at the Malik Willis proposition, Jonathan Anderson says he can see him ending up on the practice squad. I don't know what other team would claim him. You know, another team, again, it depends on how the waiver order goes, right? I don't know what other teams' situations are going to look like by the time roster cuts get down there. Other teams might have injuries. He may make sense. Monty Ossenfort might want him in Arizona. Like, there's a variety of different scenarios where it would be, I think it would be more difficult than not for him to clear the waiver wires and end up back on the practice squad. I think that the only scenario that I can see Malik Willis panning out on the active roster to start the season, and that's to start the season, right? I think that it is a pretty far reach for me to say, but I think that based on the situation that's at hand and the current quarterback depth, I would say to you that Malik Willis would have to play well enough to compete for the backup job, and Will Levis would have to play well enough to compete for the starting job, or Malik Willis would have to play well enough to compete for the starting job, and Ryan Tannehill would have to appreciably struggle to the point that it makes him expendable with these 2 young players on the roster. Now, that is highly unlikely. It is the most unlikely of almost any scenario that I could present to you, that Malik Willis and Will Levis are both ready enough to make Ryan Tannehill a post-June 1 release, to make him expendable, and to move on with the potential 1-2 punch that this quarterback room might be. That is almost impossible at this point. It's not completely impossible because there's always a percentage chance, but you cannot, that is the only scenario in which I could see Malik Willis ending up on the active roster to start the year. I don't think they roll with 3 quarterbacks. I don't think that there's any kind of scenario in which you could present to Mike Vrabel 3 healthy quarterbacks, none of whom provide special teams value, and say, yeah, Mike, you need to use one of your active roster spots on this, even though it's the most important position. Jay Street says he's already expandable. I assume he means expendable. Expandable would be, expandable is difficult, I suppose. Expandable would mean that he's gaining weight. I haven't seen Ryan Tannehill gain weight. He looked pretty in pretty good shape when they were putting out the sled pushing videos. And also, Jay, whether you like him or not, he's the best starting quarterback option that you have. So on that front, unless something miraculous for either of these two other players that we're talking about at the quarterback position. If something miraculous materializes, then we can have a serious conversation about that. But in the meantime, the only serious conversation that you can have with yourself is that you seriously don't have a better option on your quarterback roster at this point in time than Ryan Tannehill. So you're just going to have to eat it. Looking at the variety of Bert says in our private chat, his role is expandable. He was a wide receiver. No, I don't think so. At this point, he was a wide receiver, and in fact, he would make more sense to move to wide receiver than some of you who want to move Malik Willis to wide receiver. And I see what you're doing there with Malik Willis and Ryan Tannehill. Even though the jokes, actually, I think there's as many jokes about moving Tannehill to wide receiver as there have been Malik at this point in the offseason, so I can't even do that. Trippin' Titan says, yeah, eat it, Jay. I mean, listen, it's not like a eat it. I'm not saying eat it in terms of like, oh, yeah, suck it. Tannehill's your quarterback, nerd. No, I'm not saying it at all. I'm just saying that you kind of have to eat it at this stage and understand that, yeah, they're going to play the player who makes the most sense to win them football games. Jay Street says Levis should get the start the only way he could learn. Well, of course, that's not the only way he could learn. To even put that out into the universe, Jay speaks to a level of ignorance about the quarterback position. Now, there's not one size fits all way to develop quarterbacks, right? Patrick Mahomes can sit behind Alex Smith for a year, get onto a roster that was already succeeding with a coaching staff that was good and thrive and reach his highest potential, right? Where he's the best quarterback that many of us have seen in our lifetimes, or at least the most talented quarterback, and does seem to be getting better. You could be developed in terms of how it is that you start right away, right? Anthony Richardson is somebody who needs to play immediately. He has not played enough football, plain and simple, at this point. Will Levis is not that. Will Levis has started plenty of football games. Will Levis, at this point, needs to have better command, better control, better decision-making, and better accuracy. All these different things. Xavier Cohen says, stop reading Jay's comments. Well, you know, listen, I'm trying to have a conversation with as many of you as humanly possible, and I can't just like read one thread, move on. When he's trying to make other points, I can sometimes, but it doesn't make sense to necessarily, because I understand what he's trying to say, and I'm just trying to provide him context for why that doesn't necessarily make the most sense. Not an argument, not going back and forth. Jay can have his opinion, whether I've changed his opinion or not. That doesn't necessarily matter, but I do think it's important to provide context, right? I love how everyone goes to that immediately, says Dr. Design. Like Mahomes wouldn't be good with Alex Smith or something. Well, I mean, sure, but we only know how it played out, right? You can present all the hypotheticals like, would Aaron Rodgers have been great right away if Brett Favre wasn't in front of him? Would Patrick Mahomes have been great right away if Alex Smith wasn't in front of him? All these different scenarios that you can present to people and go back and forth, or all these different things. And yes, that's fine to imagine all the ways that it could have gone, but the way that it did go down, we know, right? And we know that there's no one size fits all at this point. I think that you are going to default, or you're going to defer. Well, actually, whether you defer or not is a different matter, but Mike Vrabel is going to play the players that he trusts the most. The player that he trusts the most at the quarterback position is Ryan Tannehill. If there is a time where that ceases to be the case, then at that point they will make a quarterback change, or if his contract is not extended at this point in time. But I think that with all these different scenarios that you can run through, the path that makes the most sense forward is a path that does not necessarily include Malik Willis. And while that may not, you may not love that, you may not love your team spending a third-round pick to get next to nothing out of him. I think you have to largely understand the situation that they're in, and they just have to put together the best roster humanly possible. And the best roster humanly possible, in all likelihood, given their deficiencies at other positions, in all likelihood, it does not include Malik Willis as a third quarterback, unless there is obvious special teams value. And, I'm sure he's willing if they were to ask him to do those kind of things. But I also think that his agent would get in his ear and be like, hey, man, you're trying to make money. You're not trying to damage your body just to be the third string quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. Let's get real and let's try and find a quarterback job elsewhere. Speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about Will Levis. Was there too much hype coming out of one day that was open to media and 3 days of rookie minicamp? Fair or foul, the amount of new optimism that I have seen around Will Levis. We'll talk about it together on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. We will discuss at length right after I give you another great primetime partner who makes this show possible. That's True Matt Fitness in the Gulch. It's a great gym. It's the best gym, as a matter of fact, and they have the best possible workout plans for you. No workout ever reused or recycled in their boot camp style classes. They are the best gym around. They also have personal training. They have an open gym as well if you sign up for their membership options that you can use as you like. You can work out on your own pace. You can get more specific training. You can join the group classes and get an efficient, effective workout in 40 minutes of your day. True Matt Fitness will find the best possible way for you specifically to maximize your fitness potential and achieve your goals. Go to truemattfitness.com for your first workout free. So at this point, fair or foul, the excitement, the optimism around Will Levis after 1 day of media availability and 3 days of rookie minicamp. Stephen King says, fair, let us win rookie minicamp. Might be the only winning we have this year. That's a bit dramatic. Fair, says Xavier Cohen. Malik wasn't even looking this good, and that is something that I can confirm. I saw both of them in their rookie mini camps. I can say to you that Will Levis looked appreciably more comfortable, more confident in what he was asked to do and what he was executing than did Malik at this time last year, and that's fine. Rashawn says, I believe Tannehill will be traded. I guess it's still possible until it's not, but I can tell you, Rashawn, that there's no active discussions around that right now. Doesn't mean that it can't happen, but again, the likelihood of that at this point is slim to none. I would assume that Ryan Tannehill is your starting quarterback until any news to the contrary occurs. Have you heard the rumor of Henry getting traded to the Bengals? No, I have not, Patricia, because I don't get my news from Facebook, nor should you on a regular basis. I would say to you that anytime you see one of these rumors, I would ask you to do a degree of vetting because, I understand that this show is live stream on Facebook and you may say, well, I get my news from you. So you're saying I should not get your news from that I should not get my news from you. And I would say, yeah. You can debate the merits of that, but largely I don't, anytime like a family member sends me something on Facebook, I'm probably going to ignore it because I know where to get news, where I get my news sources from. And I know that we all have a variety of different, places that we choose to get our news. But I would say that, no, there is nothing to that effect at this point. I'm sure it's false. Yes, here's what I will say. It's about as real as the, what's my guy's name? Akbar Bajabiamila saying that Derrick Henry would be traded to the Eagles. And, Derrick Henry is very, very much still a Tennessee Titan at this stage. But if I hear anything to that effect, I will be sure to let you guys know. Here's what I'll say. I don't want to fence sit, right? Because the question is fair or foul. I think it's fine for fans. So largely, I'm going to say it's fair. I think it's fine for fans to be optimistic about Will Levis. I think that, the quarterback room is crowded right now, and Mike Vrabel spoke to that effect on the night that Will Levis was drafted. Here's Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon on the Friday night of the draft.
I think Rand maybe misspoke, but he said that, I think you said that Ryan would start off as the 3. I know you.
I meant to say Will.
Say Will.
Ryan will be the starting quarterback on Monday. Malik will be the backup. Will be the third quarterback. And what I've told them is whatever happens after that will be up to the players. That's what it's always been here. That's what we always want it to be.
Good catch, Jim.
Competition will play itself out. Is there a scenario where you keep 3 quarterbacks through the season? Or?
Of course. There's a million scenarios, that we'll have to work through, between Rand and the staff and myself and everybody. That's, we just are starting the offseason. We're 2 weeks into the offseason program. Looking forward to phase 2 with the players that come on Monday. And then when we're able to get the rookies in here with rookie minicamp.
So that is Mike Vrabel talking about the backlog at the quarterback position. And now for Levis, fair or foul, I think it's fair. I don't think he'd go crazy and say future of the franchise, oh my God, bona fide Hall of Famer, blah, 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 all these different things. Jonathan Caverly says, didn't sound overly against three quarterbacks with that answer, Buck. Yeah, because it was like May the 2nd. When have you the thing that you guys bitch most about with Mike Vrabel is that he doesn't give you a straight answer. And that was a very honest answer. Sure, there's a scenario. Just as I've told you that there's a scenario. I've given you multiple scenarios for carrying three quarterbacks on the roster. Listen, Jonathan, if you want Malik Willis on the roster, that's fine. If you want Malik Willis on the roster for whatever reason, you are entitled to feel that way. I've presented you with those multiple scenarios in which Malik Willis can make this roster. And I've also told you that it's incredibly unlikely. I have no idea what the Tennessee Titans quarterback situation is going to be on, let's say, October 15th when the team goes to London. Ryan Tannehill could have snapped his leg in half. Malik Willis could be the starting quarterback, and Will Levis could be an absolute disaster, right? All of those things are possible, and that could be the most feasible outcome at that point in time. I am telling you, though, when we spoke to Mike Vrabel, that was May the 1st. When I'm talking to you now, it is May the 17th. And at this particular time, the scenarios for Malik Willis making the active roster out of training camp, unless there is an injury, are next to nothing. There is nothing wrong with saying that, while also acknowledging that any scenario is possible. It's like when somebody, and it's a fine question. Like I know I'm talking fast and like peppering you with stuff, but and I understand why people are willing to have this discussion. It's why I'm glad that we're having this discussion at this particular time. But I think that it's like when the Titans are getting ready for a Sunday Night Football against Kansas City, right? Malik is the starting quarterback. And somebody will pop in the chat and say, well, do the Titans even have a chance in the game? And the response is, well, of course the Titans have a chance in the game. They're physically in the game. There are two teams on the field at that particular time. And so by nature of being out on the field, yes, they do have a chance, even as unlikely as it might be, to go into Kansas City and win on Sunday Night Football with a backup quarterback that barely any of us have seen, right? Yes, it is possible. And they damn near did it. And then they didn't, right? So anything, the cliche, anything is possible, that's factually accurate within the realm of, possibility, right? Anything is possible. But I just think, to try and continue to project something that is unrealistic just because you like how it sounds better, that's what I'm actively working against. And, whether you agree with that or disagree with that, that's entirely incumbent upon you. I will say, though, that Mike Vrabel, why are you putting that on the screen, Bert? I will say that Mike Vrabel, in what you should be looking for reasons of optimism, Bert wants me to say tighten up in the comment section. You want me to say tighten up back to Kevin Paul. It's, he can, it's just nuts. I did say it on accident to Rand Carthon once. It's like, it's not even a big deal. Like to tighten up something, right? If I needed to tighten up the screw on my set light because it's wobbly, well, I can't say that anymore because it's a Homer phrase and I'm a reporter and I cover the team. So now I'm going out of my way to say a phrase that's completely common because the Titans have robbed me of it. I can't even say it back to Kevin Paul Price without feeling like a Homer. Bleep you, Bert. Bleep you. And as he takes it off the screen. I think that as you look at all the different options, I think it is, like I said, I think it's fair for people to be excited about Will Levis. He's a rookie quarterback. Titans have a unique quarterback situation. There's nothing wrong with fans being excited on May the 17th. Now, how realistic or how fair expectations are for Will Levis, we'll see. But I do think that the stuff that Mike Vrabel talked about on the night that they drafted him, you can see what they're talking about. There is evidence to think that this could work. But one rookie minicamp practice is not enough to say that this guy is the future of the franchise, full stop. But it's okay to be a little bit excited right now.
Well, when you look at completion percentage, 65% 2 years in the SEC, what we felt like was over 30 drops that probably would have led to, closer to 70% completion. Every player that we bring in here is going to have a chance to improve and will have to improve. And again, the decision-making, toughness, accuracy are obviously things that we feel are critical with quarterbacks. and we think that the three that we have here are going to be able to do that.
So that's Mike Vrabel on the night that Will Levis was drafted. And we'll see how this thing plays out. We'll have more opportunity to look at them. I think our next availability is the 23rd when we'll be out on the field. Let's see how they smacked. Was it Smacked by Pup on YouTube? Says, how are they going to give up on Willis on 61 attempts? LOL. Well, I'll tell you, real easy, because he couldn't play. Real easy. Like that whole NFL not for long thing, like that's real. I don't know how many times, how many years we have to repeat that stuff. I don't know how many times we have to talk about the cold-hearted business of the NFL and for people to not understand that, yeah, you don't get a long leash. Now, Malik Willis could go somewhere else and ball out, and he could have a really successful NFL career, and you could go back 10 years from now as a Titans fan and be like, damn, how dare they let that future of the franchise, next great quarterback walk out the door because they drafted Will Levis. Will Levis could be worse. Malik Willis could be better, right? Sure. It's just like the question, do they have a chance in a game that they really don't have a chance in? And you say, yeah, of course they can, because anything is possible in that moment. But if you're asking me how are they going to give up on a quarterback after 61 attempts, I'm telling you, very, very easily. That shit happens all the time. All right, let's move on to rising and falling. Put a bow on this evening's show. Bobby Carter asked, when can fans go watch practice? I'm pretty sure that's only for training camp, Bobby. It might be different for because I know they had like a suite holder night for the schedule release. They did like a special show with Mike Keith and Coach Mack and Rand Carthon, like walking through the schedule with, a group full of suite holders. So maybe, that's different than like season ticket holders when they get to go out to training camp practice, or maybe I don't know what the team is planning, but I know typically those things are just like the only time that I see fans at practice with us is training camp. So I would anticipate that being the first opportunity, but I would say to you that, I don't have any direct knowledge of their fans allowed at practice schedule at this particular point in time. Typically though, it's training camp. I think, okay, let's move on. Whose stock rose and whose stock fell this week in sports? Rising and falling is how we end the Wednesday night show. Let me know on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. While you do that, I will tell you that our friends at Superbook Sports make the primetime show possible. They also make your sports wagering possible and more fun. 78-78 tied right now between Miami and Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. You could be wagering on this, the Lakers and the Nuggets, the NHL postseason, and the MLB regular season, all in the Superbook Sports app with the promo code ATOZ. Download the app, plug in that promo code ATOZ, that's A2Z, and get $250, up to $250 matched by Superbook Sports for you to download, wager, and play with that same day. Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. So as you look at all the tighten up. All right, Bert, get out of here. The random tighten ups on the screen. It's funny because I do have I had somebody point this out to me on Instagram the other day, as a matter of fact, because I do have that hat show print. I don't want to turn the laptop in my office right now to show you guys my wall, but I have a funny story about, I have one of those hat show prints from the draft, right? The tighten up hat show prints. Let me see if I can do this cleanly without knocking a bunch of stuff off my standing desk here. In fact, it's behind my door, so maybe this isn't going to work, but there is where is it? See, there's a hat show print, tighten up, framed, poster from the draft on my wall in my office, among many things. And I posted something on Instagram the other day. Somebody DM'd me and said, "Are you a secret Titans fan and just lying about it?" And it made me laugh because the funny story behind that particular poster, for those of you who care, before we do the rising and falling, maybe this is too self-involved, but the funny story about that is that was a gift given to me by an ex-girlfriend, very thoughtful of her to do so around the draft, right when the draft was here in Nashville. And I came up with all those hat show print signs for each of the 32 teams. And she had given it to me for my birthday because I thought, that there's putting stuff together in my office. I've got stuff from Indiana. I've got stuff from a bunch of different stops around places, but I didn't have anything Nashville sports related, right? Because I'm not a fan of local teams. It's my job to cover them. So there is a disconnect there. And so, she was being very thoughtful. She's like, "Oh, you're a Tennessee Titans reporter. This is a cool thing." We started dating at the time around the draft. So she got me the hat show, the draft that was here in Nashville. So the hat show print thing was a very thoughtful gift, right? And we actually got into an argument about it because I refused. I didn't refuse, but I wouldn't hang it up in my office. I wouldn't hang it up in my office because I didn't want anybody to even think that there was any kind of fan related connection between me and the Titans, even though I do like that. It's like the Oilers throwbacks. I like the Oilers throwbacks. I'm never going to wear them because I'm not a Titans fan. I'm a professional and my job is to cover the team. But that always makes me laugh every time somebody asks me about that Titan Up poster because I do like it. It looks good in the office. But now, and it's framed and hung up on the wall because I got in an argument with an ex-girlfriend about the fact that it had been given to me as a birthday gift and it went almost a year before I put it up on the wall. So now it's on the wall. Kevin says, "You're a Colts fan." Damn it, man. No, not a Colts fan. I didn't have an NFL team growing up. I know nobody believes that, but when I tell you I did not give a shit about the National Football League until I think I was a sophomore in college. The first NFL season I remember actually paying attention to was the Flacco. Was ironically enough for Burt was the Flacco Ravens Super Bowl run with Kaepernick and the Niners against Flacco, and that was the first NFL season that I really paid attention to because I was living with a bunch of dudes. My family doesn't care about sports, so didn't really watch football growing up. Turns out not hard to learn and figure out how to do for a job, and walked back asswards into covering an NFL team for a living. And 7 years later, here I am. But yeah, no NFL team fandom in my life, even though I am born in the state of Indiana. I barely claim that because I've lived in a variety of different places across my life, and I have no allegiance that way. So lucky for you, you get objective even when you hate me for it. All right, rising and falling. Whose stock rose, whose stock fell in sports this week? I'll tell you whose stock fell. Anybody participating in a Mike Vrabel workout, because this conditioning that they are doing right now, it looks like absolute hell.
When the whistle blows, give it a jump. Says who? Says me. Yeah. Here we go.
Woo! Watch it take off, boy. Watch it take off. I'm finna get him. Good, come on.
I saw the push.
You heard the head, man.
This team bonded.
No,
This team bonded. This team bonded. This team bonded. We bonding right now. Let's go, Racing. Go, Racing. Go, Racing. Push. Ball game.
Done.
Ball game. Another one.
It's pretty good. But the best part about that video is somebody barking at Mike Vrabel when he's laying out the sled rules, saying, you hear, says who from the background. And in a blink of an eye, Mike Vrabel whips around and says, says effing me. Watch this and see if you catch it.
When the whistle blows, give it a jump.
Right here it comes.
Says who? Says me. Yeah. Here we go.
He is to his core, no matter whether the cameras are on or off him. He is full-blown Mike Vrabel, full tilt to the tackle all the time. Stephen King says, so vets allowed, but no O-line. No, the offensive line's there. Offensive line, well, some of the offensive linemen are there. So some of the vets are there. Vets are allowed to be there starting Monday. All the vets don't have to be there, though. I saw Keith Bullock make a joke on that video, say, yeah, if that's what we're doing in OTAs, my ass isn't showing up. I thought that was pretty funny. Mike loves his job, says Christopher Young. He truly does. He really enjoys it. And I have enjoyed covering Mike Vrabel a great deal. Now that, stock down for the Titans players who have to participate in that, because that looks like an unrelenting hell. Stock up for a video that I saw on TikTok this week of a local rapper here in Nashville who is, diehard Tennessee Titans, Nashville Predators, Nashville sports fan. Now, he goes by MCD on YouTube and on TikTok. I apologize. I don't know his actual name to give him credit, but this was something that I saw scrolling. I thought the song was great. I thought it was catchy. It got my attention. And certainly I knew that you guys were going to like it. So stock up, MCD. I was glad I was able to catch his stuff on TikTok.
And everybody go and scream. Cadillacs, 24s, Tennessee pimpin', Superfly, whiskey drinking Tennessee women. If you ain't from the 6, then you can't ride with me. 12s in the back, that's how we Tennessee living. Cadillacs, 24s, Tennessee pimpin', Superfly, whiskey drinking Tennessee women. If you ain't from the 6, then you can't ride with me. 12s in the back, that's how we Tennessee living. You see how I'm living, I'm on my Tennessee pimpin', got more ice than the Predator. I'm hitting hoes like I'm Henry. See them boys from the gutter, roll around with that thunder, cause they life full of rain, pain, and people that's thuggin'. See, I'm true to this shit, I put my heart in this shit. I got a Memphis party, yelling whoop that trick, and I might whoop that trick, water whip that brick, cause if it ain't about $1, then it don't make sense. I know I'm stuck in my ways, but she love my demeanor.
All right, so it says Deshaun Jones or Deshaun Jones. Maybe that's MCD. So Deshaun Jones, shout out to Deshaun Jones for Jay Streets. It's a trash can emoji. That was completely disrespectful. I thought it was good. It had my head bobbing. I appreciated it. I thought Titans fans would like it, and I thought stock up. It seemed to. I don't know much about the rap game, obviously, but it caught my attention. It was catchy, and I thought Titans fans would think the same. So there it is. Shout out to Deshaun Jones. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight on the Primetime Show. Radio show tomorrow. Going to be a lot of fun. Make sure that you're there from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. Got some good information for you on Mike Vrabel and what we figured out he meant by saying that the Titans needed to be playing faster this coming season. We'll get into that tomorrow from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. Corey D. Jackson says, Lido, we need a banger, man. I do love Starlito. I went to a Starlito concert. Actually, I live in North Nashville. He was playing a venue up the road. The original Slim and Huskies, they've got that outdoor situation next to the rollout. For those of you guys who live out north, went by to support a friend of mine, Josh Black, who's a comedian who was hosting the event. And got to meet Lido for the first time. That dude is legit. Absolutely. That is an icon here in Middle Tennessee and certainly in the city of Nashville. So that's going to do it for us tonight. Have a great rest of your evening. Thanks for hanging out with us. Like I said, radio show tomorrow. Get your tickets for the install. We need 30 more people to buy tickets. 30 more people to buy tickets for a sellout. A sellout means that Robert is drinking mayonnaise with coffee on the stage in Will Levis fashion. And if 30 more tickets are sold for a sellout, I am going to eat a banana Will Levis style on the stage on Saturday night. There's about 100 people who are going to be at this thing. I think that we can sell it out. I believe in you guys. Go to 1045thezone.com for your tickets. If you don't have the link, Bert's about to drop it in the Zone TV, or excuse me, Zone TV chat. It's the wrong chat. In the live stream chat for you guys to pick them up. We're going to have a great time. We hope that we're going to see you there. If you've already bought your tickets, can't wait to hang out with you. If you haven't done it yet, what are you waiting around for? Do it before they sell out for no other reason than to make Bert and I do something disgusting on the stage while we break down the tape with Greg Cosell of NFL Films. Have a great rest of your night, and I will talk to you tomorrow. If you're a fan of the Tennessee Titans, the Install Live Show with Greg Cosell of NFL Films coming up Saturday, May the 20th at the Hutton Hotel. Get your tickets right now at 1045thezone.com to hear the best breakdown of Will Levis.
Really, really excited and thankful for the opportunity.
And the rest of the Titans draft class.